Alan Miller donated for a whole year on Patreon, and I'm incredibly grateful for his patronage. Toph the First Metalbender versus Saruman, Muldrotha, and T-Val. Only a 2-lander, and they're both tap lands, so we're going to mulligan on this. Alright, a 2-lander. Hopefully we'll get into another one so that Heaped Harvest is going to be able to ramp us. It's not great, but hopefully we'll be able to make something work with it. Sin a turn 1 Wayfarer's Bauble from Muldrotha, which he'll be able to play out of the graveyard. Getting to a 3rd land is really good. Wayfarer's Bauble cracked by Muldrotha, and then it's straight round to our turn. And draw ourselves into another land, that's good. Nothing to do for 2 mana, unfortunately. Apart from Blackblade Reforged, I think I'd rather surprise my opponents with, so we'll pass. Seen a Tortured Existence so far, and a Burgeoning, which is now triggering for the first time after Thespian Stage hits play. Only 4 cards in hand for T-Val. Does manage to get down an Opulent Palace. A Perpetual Timepiece, he's tapped that immediately to mill a couple of lands into the bin. A Planeswalker from Saruman, that is Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator. Decides to loot with the Kaito, and in doing so discards an Abuelo. More land ramp for us with Harrow. Let's go for a Mountain. And I think we're fine to go for the Heaped Harvest now to get a little bit of land ramp on the go, fix our green mana. T-Val the Balanced Scale is the first commander to come down. Milling some more over here, a Drowned Catacomb and a Satyr Wayfinder. Jared's Orders is a tutor, 1 creature into hand and 1 into the graveyard. Sol Ring entering play now for the Esper player, hasn't fixed his black mana yet though. Ticks up on the Planeswalker again. So it's on 5 loyalty, this has a -9 where you get an emblem. Whenever a player casts a spell you get a ninja, to which he discards Dragonlord Silumgar. And Kefnet's Last Word gains control of an artifact, creature or enchantment, but your lands don't untap during the next untap step, so it might just be a theft deck here, which I made myself with Wan Shi Tong in this particular set. Alright, so I think we're fine to set up with Toph here, and then we can get to earthbending this Heaped Harvest and maybe sacrifice it to Harrow next turn. This assumes that our Toph actually survives, which it might not. Even though this is a land, it doesn't tap for mana automatically, but if we see an Urborg or a Yavimaya, or one of our own means of tapping these artifact lands for mana, then obviously we will be able to at that point. So we'll go through to the end step and trigger this earthbending thing. There's been some extra mill going on here. Didn't look at what he tutored for with Jared's Orders actually. Tatyova is in the bin, and he also revealed to us Sidisi, which is now in hand. Toph animates the Heaped Harvest and turns that into a 0/0 with a couple of plus counters on it. Okay, and we've got a player scooping already, incredible. And Animate Dead entering play for what we assume is the Muldrotha player. Is it going to grab Dragonlord Silumgar and take the Toph away from us? Hopefully not. Yeah, looks like that's exactly what he's doing. That means that Toph is going to start earthbending over here as well, and he uses it to protect his Perpetual Timepiece. It's noteworthy that with our harvest being earthbended, it remains a land as well as an artifact creature, of course, which is interesting. So obviously we don't have Toph on our side of the field anymore, but this does remain an artifact land creature. A ninja token being made by Kaito, decides to tick down and make the 2/1. Okay, a land for us. I'm thinking I was going to go Harrow here, and we would get a couple of lands ahead and then another one from this. I think I'd rather do all that with something like Greensleeves in play, so let's try and make more threats for our opponents to point their removal at, and hopefully they'll run out so that we can grab our Toph back at some point. Greensleeves currently a 6/6. I wonder if protection from wizards and planeswalkers is going to be relevant with this. Play a land into that to make the first Badger token. And do we swing into the ninja here? Or do we definitely want to save this for Harrow? I don't think it makes all that much of a difference, to be honest. Let's just go for the Kaito. Does decide to trade out our Heaping Harvest for the ninja, so that effect is still active even though we don't control the commander. We're not quite getting as many landfall effects because the Harvest re-entering will not be a land anymore because we don't control our commander, but it will still land ramp us at least. And when that basic enters, it makes another Badger token. Might actually not have enough basics in this list. Don't think I went over the mana base as thoroughly as I could have done, being in a mad dash to make all the decks for the set. So Comrade the Grim, ready to start seeing creatures enter and exit graveyards and the like. And our commander finishes off Kaito. Then Earthbend, he can Earthbend onto the perpetual timepiece as well to further buff that if he wants to. And instead decides to make a manland. Inexorable Tide is going to proliferate whenever you cast a spell. Doesn't have anything to proliferate at the moment. So we're missing out on landfall here, unfortunately, with losing our commander. We could get down things like Blackblade Reforged, Eco Wellspring. We could sacrifice Eco Wellspring into the Harrow in order to draw 2 cards to it. And all the while triggering Greensleeves for more Badger tokens. I think I'm just going to go in for combat here. We can give ourselves a small buff with Harrow at instant speed. Try and deal 7 damage to our opponent. Yeah, just decides to chump with this, which I assumed he would, so we don't have trample on here, do we? So in that case we'll allow this, and I think we'll go for All Fates Scroll, and we'll be able to afford the One Ring there as well. The Perpetual Timepiece was a creature, so it triggers the Sir Conrad the Grim, and of course the Earthbending is going to bring it straight back into play. So in that case, let's go for the One Ring first, because if we make a land this turn we might be able to go for some Ramp and Eco Wellspring. We have protection for the rest of the turn cycle. Put the first bird encounter on this to draw a card. Alright, and we got into Verdant Catacombs is good, so we'll get some more Badger tokens from that. Feels bad playing all this stuff and missing out on the landfall triggers, but need to be drawing as many cards as we can and ramping as much as we can so that we can actually get out from underneath this small headache we've got here. Mind Stone, good for Earthbending because we can sacrifice it to draw a card. I'm wondering actually if I should have been concentrating on the life total of Saruman, because if he goes down so does his Dragon Lord Silumgar. So I might have to start doing that next turn. Underrealm Lich now into play, so he can more easily focus on his graveyard. And the Dragon Lord swings in for 2 against us, not too worried about that. Yeah, we missed out on what, 7 or 8 damage last turn on this guy, so he could have been in the early 30s. He actually can't deal damage to us thanks to the One Ring, so that was a wasted attack as well. Earthbending probably onto the timepiece again, you have to assume. An Anti-Corstal Visage. That has been warped into play, one of the new Eldrazi's. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from hand onto the battlefield tapped. He's got a Grim Monolith there, and this now getting warped. He is proliferating more bird encounters onto the One Ring, so we're going to draw more of those, but it does mean that we're going to take more life to it as well. Luckily we've got a means of getting rid of the One Ring with Scrap Mastery, but it will mean sacrificing all of our other artifacts as well. Makes a copy of the One Ring. Not sure how he's done that though. Did that with Mirror Maid, which is a 3 mana enchantment, so losing 3 life now. Hopefully we'll be able to draw into a Source to Plowshares or something. So we go down to 34, there's a Lightning Greaves ready to put on our commander if we ever get it back. Tap the One Ring immediately before we decide on what we're going to play this turn. Liquimetal Torque can give our non-artifact permanents Earthbending in order to protect them with the commander. Chromatic Lantern is going to be able to make the artifact lands tap for mana. Let's see, I think we best make more lands, and then I'm going to play and equip the Blackblade Reforged onto a Badger token, I think. Oh, but that will mean an equip cost of 7, I forgot, so we'll risk putting it on the Greensleeves. I was trying to spread the threats about, but our opponents are tapped out anyway. So then that is now an 18-18 plus 3, 6 and 12 is 20 and 30 damage, so the fact that I didn't swing in over here could be relevant. Us getting down a creature with haste isn't really of much relevance, unfortunately. Get down another rock with the Chromatic Lantern. And we can also go for Mind Stone, should be fine, so that I can go Lightning Greaves and protect the Greensleeves. Again, missing out on a bunch of landfall with all these artifacts, but you can use your imagination for how many Badger tokens we would have. We might as well swing in, well, we're not worried about spot removal for now, might as well swing in with another Badger token. Swing everything into the right, and knock him down to 6, so my previous lack of attacking in over there was absolutely relevant. We could have had Toph back here with Lightning Greaves equipped. Have to see if that becomes relevant at some point during the game. You have to assume that this guy wants to see the Saruman player survive as the client decides to bug out. He might not have that much of a choice in Saruman surviving, while Sir Conrad is in play though. Thankfully we're not seeing too much in the ways of mana from Muldrotha, and it is quite a mana intensive deck. So we see some mill, which shows us an Azusa. We've also seen Swiftfoot Boot, Sylvan Library at some point, Rampant Growth hit the graveyard. This guy goes down to 5 with Sir Conrad. The Gitrob monster now going to be forced to start sacrificing lands, which goes well with our commander as it happens. He doesn't lose out on the lands he sacks. He's welcome to swing Toph in towards a 3-3 Badger. And he was going to swing in with Toph there. I imagine he was going into the right, but he wants to keep this guy alive for as long as possible now in order to keep my commander. Swings in with a couple of 2/2s. We might as well deanimate his swamp here because I don't think he cares about landfall. 2/5 flyer comes in at us. Of course, but there's the Gitrog to take into consideration now, isn't there? Gitrog does see a land, including his artifacts are lands as well, so Gitrog does see his lands die and draws a card because of that. That will include the artifacts now as well, as long as he's got control of Toph. So Sir Conrad sees a creature die and deals 1 damage to both of us, and then more mill. So that will secure a Tribelder and Terramorphic Expanse. And that being a creature, Sir Conrad triggered again, knocking him down to 3. And Gitrog triggers on lands entering the graveyard from anywhere, so Terramorphic Expanse draws him a card there from being milled. And then there was some more mill there for some reason. Didn't quite keep track of that. Diligent Farmhand and Siren Storm Tamer, that's 2 creatures, putting him down to 1. Then he decided to shock down the Overgrown Tomb, unusually, so don't know, maybe he's holding up a tutor or something. Earthbending this time onto a basic land again, deciding to draw a card, put a bird encounter on the 1 ring, so he automatically dies to that next turn anyway. Still hasn't got into his black mana. And it's a Skrelv's Hive, adds another bird encounter to the 1 ring. He'll cast as many spells as possible to add burden to us, I imagine. Probably out of spite. Didn't burden his own 1 ring. Looks like he is buffing the plus counters here as well. Blue Sun's Twilight gains control of a token, and they get to proliferate again onto the manlands and the 1 ring. Getting into a sack outlet for artifacts is going to be ideal for us, so we can lose out on the 1 ring after we've drawn some cards. Untapping the Grim Monolith. Okay, and time to take our big hit from the bird encounters, go down to 18. Alright, and that's exactly the kind of thing we needed. A Devastating Mastery is going to destroy all the non-land permanents, which will include our artifacts once we get our commander back. So I'd be tempted to swing in over here, but I think he'll block with the Toph so that we have to recast it. So let's just take this player out. Just going to take in a couple of creatures just in case he can bounce one or something. Excellent, and now the Animate Dead goes down because it falls off the creature. And so Silumgar would have been sacrificed anyway, but we've already got our Toph back. So now all of our artifacts turn into lands. We're not going to be able to keep the green sleeves, unfortunately, because I want to use Liquid Metal Torque to protect the commander. Let's cast that here. I'll tap the 1 ring for another bird encounter and a bunch of card draw first. Okay, well, there's Emiria Shepherd and Lotus Petal, so that's pretty good. But let's definitely get down Liquid Metal Torque. We can now tap these artifact lands for mana thanks to the Chromatic Lantern. Turn our commander into an artifact so that it will also become a land. So this is now a legendary artifact land creature. Let's put Lightning Greaves on there. Noteworthy the equipment can tap for mana as well, because they are of course artifacts as well as lands now. So then I think we want to go for Devastating Mastery in order to wipe his board, because he's got some scary creatures there. Making sure to tap down the artifacts here. And we are going to wipe a lot of our own board as well, but the main thing is that we've got Toph back. So bunch of Sir Conrad the Grim triggers. That's 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Knocks us down to 8. But it does take our opponent's stuff out as well. So now unfortunately we have to go for Harrow onto the 1 ring, which means we can't afford Emiria Shepherd first. Oh, actually we can with Lotus Petals, so yeah, let's go Emiria Shepherd first. And then we can make a land with Command Tower. And that will trigger the Emiria Shepherd to bring our Marrow Sorcerer into play. Had we have controlled a plains, which I could have done with Harrow maybe, we could have got this straight back into play, but the sequencing isn't working at the moment, unfortunately. Oh, we can say no to it though, can't we? So in that case, let's go for the Lotus Petal. And the Lotus Petal is an artifact land that can sacrifice itself. So let's go for sacrificing it for a green mana. And then we can go Harrow to not only get rid of the One Ring, but also to get some planes into play. Or a single planes, this is what I mean. I think I need to very much go over the mana base and get some more planes into play, some more basics in general. So Emeria Shepherd on the forest is going to be pointed at Lotus Petal, and then the planes, instead of the green sleeves, I'm actually going to go after the One Ring to give us protection for a turn, and we'll say Battlefield with that. That's from the basic planes entering, and when the One Ring enters, it's going to target another permanent. We've already got the green sleeves incoming, so just pointed at that. Yeah, there is a small 2-mana enchantment that makes all your lands every basic land type. It might be worth including that in here with Emeria Shepherd, so that we can actually reanimate this stuff. Yes, return Marrow Sorcerer to hand, and we get the Lotus Petal back to hand as well. So now we can either tap this for more mana, it's not going to deal any damage to us at the moment, or we can do something else. Maybe we can go Tireless Tracker and then play Lotus Petal to make some clue tokens, get another blocker into play. Not that we need blockers at the moment. Yeah, let's just get down the Tireless Tracker. And Lotus Petal. And we don't have to sacrifice Lotus Petal to have it tap for mana. Tireless Provisioner, or Tireless Tracker, is going to make the clue token with Investigate, because the Lotus Petal is a land, so see more of that landfall type stuff. Let's go Haywire Might to do the same thing. Again, don't have to sacrifice the Lotus Petal while it's a land, but being able to sacrifice it might come in handy later. Nothing to return with Emeria Shepherd, but we'll continue to get those clue tokens. Alright, and now we've got a flyer with a bunch of lands, and the, wherever it's ended up, the Blackblade Reforged in play, so I'll have to see if our opponent can do anything about us here. Bear in mind we've got protection for a turn. Earthbending onto this thing, so that it comes straight back, and we can refill our hand might be an idea. Puts a couple of plus counters on that, turns it into a 0/0 creature, but more importantly, makes it reanimate itself when it is killed off. Might be that our opponent has a living death or something like that, at which point a comrade is going to be a real burden for us. But if we could manage to get into some kind of sack outlet and consistently get back the One Ring, then we might be okay. We want to draw into Zuran Orb at the moment, because that would get us infinite mana and life with Lotus Petal. Zuran Orb can sacrifice itself as a land for 2 life. Sidisi, if that's the best he can do, it's fine by me. He's got in the graveyard at the moment Commander's Sphere, Ravenous Chupa Chups, Seal of Primordium, some lands, a Spore Frog. Well, that changes things. And then the 4/4 can swing in all it likes. It's noteworthy that with Haywire Might, it can tap for a green and pay for its own ability, exiling a non-creature artifact or enchantment. Anyway, no bird encounters to worry about on the One Ring, so just let that resolve. Oh, we did go down to 4 there. Did we not get protection from the One Ring? Oh, it's if you cast it. That could have been a bad mistake. It may well end up being a huge mistake. So I think the first thing we want to do is sacrifice the All Fates scroll for 7 mana. And bear in mind all the artifacts are lands, of course, and they're all lands of different names. So we're going to draw a million cards here. And that's going to come straight back into play because we earthbended it at the end of last turn. Counts as landfall, so that is a clue token. Need to get into the habit every time a non-token artifact is going to enter play. I might as well just sacrifice the Lotus Petal, because it will come straight back into hand with Emeria Shepherd. Let's see how many cards we draw here. Didn't even bother to count. We jump from 6 up to 25, and we've drawn into Zuran Orb for the Infinite as well. Let's see. We could play Cataclysmic Gearhulk here in order to get rid of our opponent's stuff. I think the idea of getting a bunch of permanents into play, we'd have to deal combat damage with this is the problem, so Spore Frog is going to hinder our plans there. Ultimately, we definitely want to be getting the combo going. We can protect a couple of our creatures now that we've got Liquimetal Coating and Liquimetal Torque, so I could have both of these survive. Let's crack the Lotus Petal for mana. Can deal a bunch of damage with Valakut Exploration as well. We've only got 44 cards left in the deck, but that's enough to deal enough damage to our opponent. This only cares about combat damage, so I doubt I'm going to jump through all the hoops, but we've got our opponent here. Play the Zuran Orb, and of course triggers Landfall, so point that at the Lotus Petal and bring it back to hand. And we then sacrifice the Zuran Orb to its own ability, because it is a land, so it can sacrifice itself. And we gain 2 life every time we do that. So then you play the Lotus Petal. Let's get out the Valakut Exploration first. I could have tapped down the Zuran Orb for mana first, actually. I should have done that before sacrificing it. Valakut Exploration is going to see all these artifact lands entering and exile the top card of our library. So yeah, we just demonstrated the infinite combo that we've got, and now Valakut Exploration. Landfall exiles the top card of our library, and then at the end step, if cards are exiled with the enchantment, put them into the graveyard and deal that much damage. We've got just enough cards left in the library in order to take our opponent down from near enough his starting life total. So it shows just how resilient Toph can be. We're a bit lacking in the spot removal front, as we saw in the early game there, but that's because I've got a lot of these destroy all non-land permanents, which we did make use of in the end. Had I have thought about the player removal as opposed to creature removal a turn sooner, then we could have had our commander a turn sooner. But hopefully you all enjoyed that one anyway. I think it showed off the deck very well in the end. If you want to see more from it, or if there are any other avatar commanders that you would like to see me play on the channel, then be sure to let me know. And please consider donating on Patreon as well, like a couple of you do already. Big thank you to those of you who do. I'm TribalKai. Thank you for watching.